The cool thing is, for us being engineers, it's actually nothing new. We always have been developing products and having variants of the product design, different designs, rating them and evaluating them. And now sustainability and the environmental impact is just another requirement coming and adding to the process.
Speaking of sustainability, a podcast where we talk to frontrunners, innovators, and business specialists on, well, sustainability and where they think their industries are headed, and more importantly, how they can make them more sustainable.
Hi there, I'm Honey Larma from Ecochain, and in today's conversation, I speak to Felix Arand, a mechanical engineer at Zuehlke. He works in the product development team doing sustainable product development. So in today's conversation, we're speaking about, firstly, how do you innovate products sustainably? How do they approach these projects? And what is needed from companies internally to make sure that these projects are a success? Stay tuned. So hi, Felix. Thank you so much for joining me today in this conversation.
Hello, thanks for having me.
What would be really great is if we can start the conversation with a short introduction of yourself and what you're doing in your work.
Yeah, sure. My name is Felix Arand, and I'm working as a mechanical engineer in the product development department of Zuehlke Engineering, which is our company. And we are a service provider for product development and business innovation. So actually, we are tech guys and focused on technical solutions for the challenges our clients have and come to us, and mainly bringing products from the first idea, the first hand sketch to series production. We are very focused on the development side and not bringing products to the market, and also the production side will be on our client side.
Yeah, nice. And when you say on the technical side, can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that?
So let's think of a client comes to us who wants to develop a new device, like a fancy smart Bluetooth speaker that can connect to Spotify or whatever, and does not really know how to do electronics development and how to design a housing for a device, because he's mainly focused on the business side or something like
Right.
this. And then we have the tech guys here who will do this and lead the guy and the client with this journey to finally have something in the hand.
Nice. Yeah, sounds really interesting. I saw something recently in the media, which was a really interesting article that was talking about Walmart. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with this brand, but it's a really big chain in the US.
Obviously.
And what they were doing is they wanted to innovate their packaging sustainably. But what they actually ended up doing was a competition for package designers that they could submit their product design proposal with the criteria that Walmart had set for what they would like to achieve with their packaging to have it more sustainable. And I thought that this was really interesting new way of coming up with a sustainable innovation within a company like Walmart, for example. So I'm curious, have you seen any of this coming up with your clients, that there's any kind of need from the greater market to collaborate on sustainable innovation or any kind of trends like this?
Yeah, obviously we see that all the clients have the same problem. Like sustainability is becoming more and more important. Also, I think there are some drivers like, of course, regulations, especially on European Commission level, like the Green Deal and the right to repair and things like this, were coming up in the next years and faster than some had expected. And on the other side, we see that companies are really have this intrinsic motivation to do something and go ahead of others to do something for this sustainable transformation.
Yeah.
So I think what the Walmart did with the competition is a quite fancy idea, because you're really bringing or fostering innovation with this competitive idea.
Yeah.
And we see more that a lot of companies are starting in this process with this transformation and are still trying to figure out how to attack this very important topic. And I think it's really what you said, to link different companies together, and is very important. And it's actually what we are also doing with at Zuehlke. We founded something that's called a Sustainability Circle, where we have a business network of many companies who have an open exchange on certain topics of sustainability.
Yeah.
And we see that this is really the way to go because everyone has this challenges ahead.
Yeah.
And sustainability is a bit outstanding of the normal business topics because, everyone feels that it's more important than other things we're doing.
Right. And I guess indeed you guys are also part of that collaboration within the greater scheme of things in terms of the companies can come to you to kind of help them in starting this process or developing it further as well.
Yeah.
And what would you say are the kind of main drivers of sustainability in your market, other than, of course, this general need in the public?
Yeah, like I said, motivation is something you can really feel. And then also another aspect would maybe be that also big companies increasingly asking their suppliers to comply with their sustainability standards. And will become part, I think, of the standard suppliers evaluation big companies are doing. So they also have to cope with this. And I think all this makes a mixture that it's really increasingly getting more important. And I think it's going faster than we expected, like already some years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the people I've spoken to recently, they've also mentioned that with the new regulations, for example, the CSRD coming up in a few
Yeah,
years, that there's already a lot of companies that are preparing for indeed needing that supplier data and needing, for all points of the supply chain to be innovating in a more sustainable direction. And of course, there's also the investors, I think, that look often at the types of products or companies that they are investing in to make sure that they are future proof and that it is something that in the long run will also be profitable for them.
yeah, definitely.
What would be really nice, I think, for people to hear is how do you initially approach these projects when a company approaches you about innovating their product in a sustainable way?
Well, generally speaking, our major contribution to our clients and also on a bigger scale, the society has always been technical expertise. So that's the thing we are giving in this topic as well when it comes to sustainability. So we know how to evaluate product designs, how to redesign products in a certain way. And so the first thing would also always be that understanding the product, the market of the clients, because we have clients from every sectors, like ranging from consumer products industry, ending up in healthcare and medical products. So, and the markets are very different. So the first thing is to understand the market and the product and how it's used by clients. The first thing would be analysis, and then to get a bit deeper in the technical details. Of course, if you choose a focus product you want to innovate in terms of sustainability, a good thing is to do maybe a life cycle assessment to use this as a baseline to reveal the hotspots of the design in terms of sustainability and see where the biggest potential for a sustainable redesign is.
Yeah.
And this would be the starting point.
You mentioned that depending on the different product and the industry, that there's a different type of approach, and that's something that we've again heard before from product designers or product developers. That can be a challenge. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you deal with that?
Maybe I can give you some some examples first
Yeah.
because it's if you have some consumer products or electronic products in mind, like your smartphone, hair dryer, or whatever, washing machine, something like this. This is something that's we used to use by all of us and for a certain lifetime, and then you may not use it anymore because you moved to a new flat, you don't need your washing machine anymore and things like this. They basically focus on things like recycle parts and reuse or change the battery and use the rest of the device and eliminate like packaging that's not needed and something like this. But if you have a look at the medical sector, for example, there you have very different requirements like hygiene, and you sometimes could not just eliminate something that's you like disposables, which you throw away. Like this could be a thing you would think of like eliminating them and using a thing you just have to wash and not throw away. But in the medical field, you sometimes cannot do this because it would harm potentially the health of the patient.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to keep in mind.
That's super interesting. And I think that that's a really good point that you need to really know the end use of the product as well, even at the design phase. Because in the end, how it's used, what it's used for, why it has the components it has. All of that being thought through is such an important part because, like you said, in the medical industry, some of the disposable parts that we see as really unnecessary or unsustainable in another product actually might be one of the key components in that product. And you mentioned the impact hotspots, which is of course one of the really important parts of development of sustainable products. So could you maybe elaborate a little bit about how you go about finding those hotspots and what do you do after you have identified those?
Yeah, sure. This is, I think, one of the major tasks in the redesign of the products. Like for finding them, as like I said, a life cycle assessment would be a good starting point, which is really a data approach and shows you where the biggest impact or ecological footprint lies. And additionally, we developed another evaluation tool. We evaluate the circularity of the product and get a rough indication where the hotspots may lie.
Mhm.
I will come to this in a minute
Yeah.
because this directly leads to the redesign.
Yeah.
And the redesign really depends again on the product and also the phase of the life cycle of the product where we see the biggest hotspots. Like for example, if it's a device which consumes a lot of electric energy, like a refrigerator or a television, then it's the use phase that has the biggest impact, and you don't need to think about sustainable materials for the housing or sustainable packaging because the major impact is just the energy consumption. And then you would think of like reducing this by maybe a better insulation of the refrigerator, or for I think smart devices reduce the energy consumption in the standby phase, and then it would also mean to adapt the firmware and the software, like
Mhm.
the Bluetooth Wi-Fi module not connecting every minute, but like every 10 minutes, and then you save energy.
That's interesting because, you cannot really know what is the biggest impact hotspot. So, where the biggest impact is of your product before you've actually analyzed it and had a good look. Like you can have a hunch that it might be the electricity in the use phase, but you have to get that confirmation with the analysis.
Yeah, you would already suspect something if we have done a couple of assessments of devices, but still there are always surprises. It's
Right.
interesting.
And with some like other types of products which might differ, so wouldn't be in use phase, what could be some other parts where you often see a need for development?
Maybe I can give you an example of an assessment we did. It was quite fancy product. It was a music box for kids
Oh.
who used to listen to like podcasts or little stories or music. So it had a speaker, a little display, and a Wi-Fi connection, so it could directly connect to the internet and have access to loads of stories and things the kids could listen to. But the energy consumption was actually quite low. So the display would shut off, and then it was just the speakers, which do not consume a lot of energy.
Mm.
So this was really about the production materials and the components, especially electric components in the device. And also the idea here was to make the design ready for circularity. So closing the loop and not throwing it away. The methodology is known as the 3 Rs: reuse, repair, and it's actually 4: reuse, repair, remanufacture. That's what called or known as refurbishment, what those companies do with their smartphones, for example, and exchange the battery and sell it as an almost new one, which is very good, I think.
Yeah.
And recycling is the fourth. Nowadays, what's more important is to think about the others, because reuse the device is always better than recycling components. So what we really do on the technical side is to have a close look at the system design, look at the components, and see what we have to change in the design to make it ready for circularity. Like, for example, if you want to have the device repairable by the customers, you need to think of an easy assembly, use screws instead of gluing parts together. You cannot disconnect anymore.
Mm.
You need to think about the availability of spare parts. That's more on the business model side. You have to guarantee that the materials are very durable. So this is some examples on the technical side we look at when we are evaluating the system design of those products. You have really to incorporate all departments of the client and the who are involved with the product, because we can do a lot of stuff on the development and tech side. But if the business model does not really foster this, you will not earn money with this, and there's not an advantage on the long scale, because as you know, the sustainability is also more dimensions than just ecological and the technical.
Absolutely. It comes back to the collaboration. So could you tell me a little bit about what is needed internally from the team and the company to really start this process?
As I said, it's sustainability is what we see is always a cross department topic. So you have to guarantee that they are aligned. Like product management has a vision for the product, and also the sales department, and then the development department can use all the requirements as an input for the design and the redesign and the evaluation of the product.
Yeah.
I think this is crucial. And then of course, we will need all the relevant information on technical side, like the use cases and other requirements for the device that can't be changed and touched, and to start our work on the technical side.
It is really about the teams working together, and also the company being really on board at all levels to really want to start that process. And from what I'm hearing from you, also within the different teams, because they play a crucial role in different aspects of getting that process successful as well. Recently, I had another interview with somebody who was speaking about how to make a good sustainability report about the things that the company has been doing. And what they suggested is, as a last check, you have to have marketing look through what everything is happening. And if they understand it, if they can be on board with what is happening with the sustainable improvements, then also other people are going to understand that.
Communication is key. It's has always been the case, and I think it's not a different thing when it comes to sustainability. And I think when it comes to sustainability, a lot of companies still have to find their way to get this connection and find out which departments have to be closely connected to work on this challenge.
As I hear from you, it is really a part of the business strategy as well, and not only the sustainability strategy. What kind of KPIs would you suggest focusing on, or what do you normally focus on?
On product side, you could, of course, use the environmental impact of and compare the new design to the old design. You can have this comparison and use this as a measure to see the advance in sustainability. And then, of course, compare it to the costs of the product in the whole life cycle, and do this evaluation. We, on company level, or let's put it on product level for Zuehlke as our company, we're working on we call it project impact valuation.
Okay.
Where we want to establish that we're measuring the impact on financial, social, and also environmental side of the projects we are doing. This is still an idea and still in progress, but I think we have to go this way, and other companies are doing it as well. We are, of course, also taking care about our carbon emissions at company level, and I think we are carbon neutral since 2 years, and striving for net zero.
Right.
We only, as we are into, as I said, product development, we have basically buildings and travel, and that's it. We don't have any production facilities and other things like this. So the major lever for sustainability is helping our clients to become more sustainable with their products.
Yeah.
And this is the major impact in comparison to our business as a company.
Yeah. No, really interesting. One more thing that came to mind from what we were speaking about earlier with the product development, which I forgot to ask about, was that when you're looking at these different scenarios, let's say that you're looking at a product and it's currently, let's say, has aluminum or something, how are you able to make the decisions on what different product or a different material would you use in that product, for example? How do you go about actually making that final decision?
Yeah, of course, we need data for decisions.
Yeah.
This comes from the life cycle databases, like Ecochain and softwares for the life cycle assessment, like Mobius we are using. This is because you have the possibility with this data to really calculate what is the advantage of exchanging this material to another, or this system concept, or on the bigger scale, like improving your washing machine for not just having an electric heater, but a heat pump that is way more energy efficient. But of course, it's another component that has to be produced, and there will be other parts inside, and you have to do the calculation for this and then compare in the end, and really compare it on databases.
Yeah.
And this is you need databases with the impact data to do this calculation.
Yeah. So you often take different types of components and compare and see which one is in the different processes actually ends up with a better result.
And the cool thing is, for us being engineers, it's actually nothing new. We always have been developing products and having variants of the product design, different designs, rating them and evaluating them, what it means for the quality of the product, the cost of the product, and other things. And now sustainability and the environmental impact is just another requirement coming and adding to the process. But the process as it is nothing completely new for us. So it's just a new requirement, actually.
Right. Yeah, no, that's actually really funny to think about it like that. I only have one last question. That's something that I am always asking from our guests. And that is, are there any other people or organizations or companies that inspire you in terms of what they do for our economy or our society to make it more sustainable?
Yeah, I think in the first place, it's the ones I already mentioned, the ones like Refurbed and other companies focused on closing the loop and giving devices a second life, and providing us with devices that have already been used, but they don't look and perform almost as good as new devices. And I think this is a huge contribution to society and also the environment.
Which company was this one?
Refurbed.
Refurbed. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Remanufacturing electronics components like smartphones, laptops, iPads.
Really interesting. Yeah, no, that's such an important industry as well, because we're using, well, even during this interview, so many different electronics and like the microphone, computer, all these things, the things that we're using in our daily life, most people, but they are also something that often has a quite short life. So if you're able to extend that or to originally already design it to be longer lasting or with better components, I think that's really cool.
And there are also a lot of other companies, a lot of them still at startup level, like a company who's called Airsteer from Germany. They invented an extremely energy efficient electric engine, which at certain scenarios has like 50% less energy consumption at the same power level like standard engines.
Mm.
And if you take into consideration that like 40% of the global energy consumption is used for electric engines, there's a huge potential for innovation in this area, for example. And it's great that people are really confronting this challenge with technical solutions.
What type of engines are we talking about?
It's for mainly for industry use, so big big engines used on production side. But you could also think about maybe you putting them inside an electric car. Not familiar with the details, but potentially,
yeah, that's
it's also another huge market, I think.
Oh, of course, yeah, that's going to be a big one for the next year. So, but thank you so much, Felix. I think this was really interesting, and I learned a lot about the process that you guys go through with sustainable development, and I'm sure, other people have also got some interesting tips and tricks from you. So, thanks a lot for joining.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for watching this chat. If you enjoyed this episode, please click here to subscribe or here for more recent episodes. Bye bye!